She was just 19 years old, a bright and determined young soldier who had barely begun her military career when she vanished from base. Days later, her body was found beneath a lonely bridge in rural Texas, brutally beaten, her dreams of the future stolen in the most horrific way imaginable. The man responsible? Not a stranger off the streets, but a decorated U.S. Army Ranger. A man once celebrated for bravery, discipline, and service to his country. A man whose past seemed to embody honor, but whose future would end strapped to a gurney in the federal execution chamber. This is the disturbing case of Louis Jones Jr. and the murder of Tracy Joy McBride. If you want more cases like this, go ahead and subscribe and turn on notifications. Born in 1950 in Beaumont, Texas, Louis Jones Jr. grew up in an era when the military was regarded as one of the most noble paths a man could take. He seized that path with both hands. Jones enlisted in the U.S. Army and worked his way up the ranks. He joined the elite Army Rangers, participated in dangerous combat operations in Grenada, and later deployed to the Middle East during the 1991 Gulf War. Fellow soldiers described him as tough, capable, and disciplined. He wasn't just another serviceman, he was the kind of man others trusted to lead. His record included commendations and medals, tangible proof of a career built on sacrifice. By 1993, after more than 2 decades of service, Jones retired with the rank of Master Sergeant. After retirement, he stayed close to the military life, working as a bus driver on base. Outwardly, he was a success story, a decorated veteran, a father to a daughter named Barbara, and a man who had served his country well. But behind closed doors, things were different. 3 failed marriages marked Jones's personal life. His last marriage to Sandra Lane, a staff sergeant herself, was falling apart. Lane would later describe him as a man haunted by his war experiences. The once strong and confident soldier seemed restless, irritable, and emotionally unstable. She told investigators he came back from Iraq different. Not broken, not shattered, but changed in ways she couldn't ignore. She described emotional distance, mood shifts, and instability. He never had a criminal record, but his life after service was marked by low-paying jobs, academic struggles, and poor mental health. Then came the violence. 2 weeks before the crime, Sandra filed a complaint with the military, accusing Jones of assaulting her, forcing her to withdraw money from her account, and sexually violating her in his home. An investigation had started, but before it could conclude, Jones's violence would escalate and claim a young life. On the other side of the story was Tracy Joy McBride, just 19 years old. Bright, determined, full of ambition. Tracy Joy McBride was born and raised in Minnesota, where she quickly became known as a bright, hardworking young woman with dreams far bigger than her small hometown. She loved music and wanted to be a teacher. To make that dream possible, she joined the U.S. Army, a decision that would help her pay for college while giving her the chance to serve her country. Tracy graduated from Centennial High School and then attended training at the Defense Language Institute in Monterey, California. By February 1995, she had been assigned to Goodfellow Air Force Base in San Angelo, Texas, for advanced training in military intelligence. She had been on base for just 10 days when her life was cut short. Her mother later described her as a girl who always smiled, someone who brought light into every room she walked into. Tracy's family believed the Army was her pathway to success, not knowing it would ultimately place her in the path of a predator. She was dating a U.S. Marine. She had plans, a life in motion. But none of it mattered the moment she crossed paths with Louis Jones Jr. It was the afternoon of February 18, 1995. Tracy was in the base laundry facility, folding her clothes while chatting on the phone with her family. 44-year-old Louis Jones Jr. drove onto Goodfellow Air Force Base in San Angelo, Texas. He was armed, not with a weapon, but with a plan. Just 2 days earlier, he had taken Sandra Lane against her will and violated her. But this time, he wasn't there for her. Instead, he found someone else. Someone completely uninvolved. He approached her and, in a sudden act of violence, forced her into his vehicle. 2 soldiers nearby noticed what was happening. They tried to intervene to stop Jones from forcing McBride into his car, but he struck one of them, Private Michael Peacock, and knocked him unconscious. The other was powerless to stop him. And just like that, Jones drove off the base with Tracy captive. At his home, Jones violated her and tried to control every detail. He locked Tracy in a closet. He forced her to bathe in hydrogen peroxide. He washed her clothes, made her walk only on towels, and meticulously tried to remove any trace of evidence. But control was only an illusion. Jones soon drove her north of San Angelo, toward a desolate bridge along U.S. Route 277. There, with a tire iron, he struck her again and again. At least 9 crushing blows to the head. The medical examiner later testified that her skull injuries were worse than what he typically saw in fatal car accidents. Her body was left beneath the bridge, dressed in her military uniform but stripped of dignity. For nearly 2 weeks, investigators searched desperately. A young soldier missing from base was no small matter. Military police, FBI agents, and local law enforcement all joined the hunt. On March 1, 1995, Jones was arrested not for Tracy's disappearance but for the assault on Sandra Lane. During questioning, agents began to suspect he might be connected to the McBride case. When pressed, Jones finally confessed. He told them exactly where they could find Tracy's body. Under the cold bridge north of San Angelo, investigators recovered her remains. The winter weather had preserved her body, confirming what Jones hoped would remain hidden. Despite his elaborate efforts to erase evidence, Dr. Gavalia concluded that McBride had been violated. That finding made the case a federal one, making Jones eligible for the highest penalty. The trial, which began in October 1995, was held in federal court in Leach, Texas, because Tracy McBride had been taken from a military base. His official charge was chilling: kidnapping within a special maritime territorial jurisdiction resulting in loss of life. Tanya K. Pierce, a seasoned U.S. attorney, led the prosecution, and she didn't hold back. McBride's family supported her decision to pursue the highest penalty. They wanted justice, not excuses, not explanations, just accountability. Jones's defense team didn't deny his role in the crime. Instead, they argued that he was suffering from the lingering effects of Gulf War syndrome, neurological and psychological damage caused by his military service. They brought in experts to testify about brain damage, trauma, and how war had changed him. They painted Jones as a man struggling with forces inside him that he couldn't control. After just 65 minutes of deliberation, the jury returned a guilty verdict: kidnapping resulting in death. During sentencing, the jurors found multiple aggravating factors: torture, serious mistreatment, and Tracy's vulnerability due to her age. On November 3, 1995, they sentenced him to death. Jones was transferred to federal death row in Terre Haute, Indiana. For the next 8 years, Jones lived in a small cell, cut off from the life he once knew. He appealed his conviction again and again, arguing that his war service and mental health should spare him from execution. His daughter Barbara visited him, clinging to the image of the father she once admired, not the man condemned as a murderer. But no appeal could erase the brutality of what had been done to Tracy. On March 18, 2003, Jones's time ran out. That morning he was offered a final meal. He chose only a simple plate of fruit. He spent time with his daughter, then was escorted to the death chamber. Witnesses included Tracy's family, Jones's lawyer, and members of his own family. When asked for a final statement, Jones recited Psalm 118, then sang the hymn, "Jesus, keep me near the cross." As the lethal drugs coursed through his veins, he whispered his last words, "Thank you, Jesus." At 7:08 a.m., Louis Jones Jr. was pronounced dead at the age of 52. In a written statement released after his death, Jones accepted responsibility for killing Tracy. But her family found no comfort in his words. Her mother, Irene McBride, said, "The Gulf War is never an excuse to take somebody's life. Today was a day of justice for Tracy." Today, Louis Jones was finally made accountable. Tracy was laid to rest with military honors at Fort Snelling National Cemetery in Minnesota. Her family created the Tracy Joy McBride Scholarship Fund, ensuring her name would live on through helping others achieve the dreams she never got to fulfill. The execution of Louis Jones Jr. marked only the third federal execution since the death penalty was reinstated in 2001. For some, the case raised difficult questions. Could a soldier's exposure to war truly alter his mind enough to explain such violence? Could Gulf War syndrome be a mitigating factor? For others, the answer was simpler. No amount of trauma could justify kidnapping and murdering a 19-year-old girl.